public comment. I like to know what everybody thinks. And like to address the problem. We can't say anything, but we can.
Okay, are you ready? All right, we're gonna recall to order our open meeting and start with a roll call.
Amanda Harness.
Here.
Anthony Davis.
Present.
Steve Byer.
Here.
Ariel Owen.
Present.
Chris Boyd.
Present.
Stacy Ramirez. James Bynum.
Here.
All right. And first is our public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card prior to the start of the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. And we have 4 public comments tonight. And the first is Mike Triddle and a thank you. I think it says PD for effort. Go ahead. Yes, please, so people at home can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. Are these on?
You could
Okay.
just, yeah.
That's for the streaming.
It's for the streaming.
Yes.
Okay.
So
all
you'll
right.
use your teacher.
So I'll talk loud.
Yes.
The first thing that I want to talk about, I want to thank the athletic department. I live right across the street from the track. So now if I know, if I get eggs on my house, I'll know where they came from tonight. But we've been working hard to organize to get the streets so that they're not clogged up and unsafe like they were 3 weeks ago at the major event that we had where school buses were loading in the middle of the street and traffic was backed up from 1st to 4th Street in both ways. The athletic department has done a yeoman's job of trying to get the information out. Unfortunately, there's still a bunch of scofflaws that want to park in the loading zone and on the north side, which is reserved for Barb Boulevard residents only. And we do try and keep that clear during the events as well. We have a couple of suggestions that with the effort that the athletic department has done, we say go on ahead and keep the regular events there. We just need to fire up the police department a little more and get a little better enforcement, although there's been several tickets written. Or with the big events, we're really, in the whole neighborhood, and I've talked to people around town as well, they suggested that we showcase the high school where the kids are going to be going to and hold these big invitational events with the traffic and everything at the high school where they have the facilities, the parking, and that beautiful track and football field that they could utilize and get a really good idea of what they have to look forward to when they get into the next phase of their education. So that's my main thing. If anybody would like to talk about it, I do have some sheets here laid out. The first 5 points on the program, the athletic department has taken care of. The 5th point is the police department. The 6th point is to move it to the high school. So kudos to the athletic department. Thank you very much. And if anybody would like to work with me on making it better, I'm more than happy to. You know, I've been kind of elected mayor of Barb Boulevard, so we'll take it from there. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Mary Lynn Buckner speaking about the new elementary school. Scooter over.
Hello, good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mary Lynn Buckner. I'm a special education resource teacher at Littlejohn Elementary. I've been a teacher in the district for over 20 years. I've been a resident of DeKalb for over 40 years. I am here to speak on behalf of the new school. I've been just in the habit of calling it the old Roberts School, if that's what it was. Everybody knows what we're saying. On the committee, I sit on the committee. We've been having several meetings, and there's just like a tiny little more of a amount of the budget that we need. And so we're just really hoping and praying that you guys will approve that tonight. As the committee has been talking, there are just some little tweaks and additions and some things that we think will really make the building special. And so we know we're a tiny bit above budget from what we originally asked for, but we're hoping you'll consider that for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jimmy Zucker, also speaking about the new school.
Good evening, Jimmy Zucker. For those of you that don't know me, hello, new school board members. I am the co-president of the DeKalb Federation of School Assistants. That is our paraprofessionals union here in the school district. Unfortunately, this is my last school board meeting as co-president, as I will be transitioning to DCTA come June. Very exciting. But I'm here to talk about the new school, a committee that I am here part of to talk about. As Mary Lynn said, we are a little bit over from what we originally planned on. But this budget and this square footage and everything that's been thought of has been collaboratively done by the unions, members of the school board, cabinet, and even community members, which is something I'm not sure I've ever seen done in my 32 years of living in DeKalb, being a DeKalb alumni, and the last 5 years being a paraprofessional. So I urge the school board to consider our additions here. This will be a building that I myself and my colleagues are all looking to work at in the future. So again, I urge the school board to consider what we've put forth tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And last for public comment is Jennifer Hilliard, and she would like to speak about the new school.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hilliard. I am the principal at Cortland Elementary School. I've been a employee of the district for 23 years, a principal for 13 years. I'm at one of the largest elementary schools, and I've got to tell you, we need the square footage in the budget for the new school because we're busting at the seams, even at my very large school. And as a resident, a parent in this district, and an unaffiliated employee of the district, I just want to say I think that this is really very necessary. The committee has gathered input from all sides and has really been very responsive to the little tweaks that we thought were needed for an elementary school. And I think this building with its square footage will provide what our students need. We need more space, smaller class sizes, and more opportunities for different programs at various buildings. And I just wanted to come and support as a member of the new school committee and as a principal that this is very necessary for us, and I hope you would approve it.
Thank you. All right. Next is our board correspondence. Are there any share-outs that board members would like to make?
I had an opportunity, a chance today. Our student board member, they couldn't make it. They have to practice for a debate, so yay academics. But they say hello. Also, I attended the last social justice meeting committee of the year, and that was great.
Thank you.
I spent the day here at Huntley Middle School visiting with a lot of teachers and students and checking out how things are going. And last week I was at DHS, and that was a good time. And I was at Lincoln the week before that, so been in a lot of schools.
I'll jump in and I can talk about more later. I took part last week in the interview process for the construction management service that we are approving tonight. So that was a lot of, it was fun. I mean, I didn't, you guys might laugh, but it was very interesting. And it was, 4 great companies that came and, presented to us. And it was very interesting and great presentations, and we came up with a really good company. So, hopefully everyone was able to look at the information and, we'll move forward tonight with it.
Thank you. All right, next is we are going to skip subject C and go on to presentations and have Human X presentation, spring 2023. Is it up? Sorry, our board clerk got. Yes.
I was gonna press it, but I thought I'd break something and I'd be in trouble.
We'll send you a bill. Do I have it? If you want to get started, I will search for it and I'll pull it up. See that she sent it to me.
We'll get it. I'll go ahead and get started. We did the second round of feedback on.
The microphone, so they can hear you at home.
Thank you, thank you. We did the second round of feedback with all the buildings on our climate and culture survey that we first did in the fall. So November was the first time, and this was the second time. So one of the things when we see the results is that we measure in 15 dimensions climate and culture, and all 15 dimensions improved. So that's unusual. So to put that into context, in that amount of time, it's even more unusual. And to go from fall to spring is even more unusual because things are more difficult in the spring in terms of just, you know, you're in the thick of the school district or the school year. 11 of the items went up statistically significant, which is another, you know, positive framework. We think about communications, and again, when it comes up, we'll see all the dimensions. But it's communications, it's a continuous improvement, it's engagement, it's satisfaction, it's relationships. It's all the things that come together to make a culture. So with the feedback sessions, we also equipped all of the building level to have the feedback and all the action plans on a technology platform so everybody can look at whatever he's working on. So there's more visibility, more accountability, and really more opportunity for celebration. Because one of the things that happens when we do this is it's not commonly done in the world. And sometimes when it's done, it's not done well. But when it's done well, people realize the culture is our building. That's our culture. And so it's not somebody else's culture, it's their culture. And that's what happened when we were together the first time and only reinforced this time. And so when we saw the items, whether the I items, the we items, the organization items, the supervisor items, when they were all going up, it's very clear that the ownership, the traction, and the impact is building, the momentum. And that doesn't just happen automatically. There's times when we'll measure the second time within that amount of period, or in that shorter period of time, and things don't go forward, or they sometimes go backwards. So it's really like cranking the flywheel. We got to keep doing it. So the plan is then again in the fall. That'll be done. The baseline, same time from the first time we did it. And we'll have more of an apples and apples comparison. But why we did it this spring was to really basically say, when we were working on all the action items, we wanted to get feedback on if we made progress. And when you get progress, it's kind of like a halftime score. So when you get a halftime score, it builds the momentum and builds the pride. That when people say, well, last time we were going to work on this, and we did, and look at the metrics, they improved. One thing I'll mention when we get into the PowerPoint is the bottom line of a culture is we measure it on two axes. The x-axis is engagement, which is a way of saying people are giving their all, and the y-axis is satisfaction. I want to do it here. So that's kind of the basics of what it is. You'll see when we pull this up that also improved. In fact, last time when we did it, baseline year, the overall was at 50%. So 50% of all the participants rated through their questions on the two axes a high level. Yeah, perfect. So you see on this visual, thank you. It's basically where everybody says they land. You know, everyone's speaking for themselves. No one's speaking for anybody else. Nobody drowns out anybody else's vote or voice. That's really where they say they feel. So somebody in the lower left feels something very different than somebody in the upper right. If I was going to give you a context, having spent many years running strategies and practice at Gallup, 32% would be the broad world level of engagement. So that's 32 compared to 50, and then you saw went to 58. So positive movement from 50 to 58 in that amount of time is really the bottom line for what people should realize. And again, it's every building getting better. It does, you know, starts from the top, but then it comes from the bottom, where at the building level, they get their voice, they get their fingerprints on their action items, and they're not all the same. When you go to one building, it could be completely different than another building, what's important to them and what they want to work on. So we create a lot of ownership in that process. So let me give you one more view, here's the overall. You see that? That's the overall. That's what I was referred to in at the beginning. The 15 dimensions and everything improved. There are harder items and there are easier items. The career development is a harder item. Mission consciousness, that really isn't. That should be one that's easy to move. Recognition in the world is last place. So it's 13th place in yours, but in the world it'd be 3.4. You're just 3.8. So we know there's more appreciation, gratitude overall, but what you really want to do is to see when they hit 4 and above. So Likert scale 1 to 5, and we look at that in terms of when is that overall dimension hitting 4 where it's strong. And again, it's an average of all the questions that are in that dimension. There could be from 4 to 8 questions, but you look at it and say, look, we're getting stronger. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that were above 4, and you have a couple that are very close. So you see the 396, the 390, the 390, the 389, 389. You've got a few that will get to strength with really one more measurement if people stay focused on the action items. And if you get to 2/3 of all your items that are strength, and we're only a year and a half into that process, that's impressive. So again, kudos to the building administrators setting the tone, having participation where people say, it's worth my time, and supporting the feedback sessions, that were an hour and 15 minutes of listening and getting the ideas and identifying what the priorities are at the building level. That's how you move the needle, and that's how you build great culture. So, questions? How do you do in my time? I'm good? All right, thank you.
Teacher, can you make a note to have Jackie upload it so that way we can? Oh, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Black.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you to everyone who made this happen. I'm very excited about these numbers, and that only means that we can keep going up and higher and stronger. That can only be done if we're all working together. So thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thanks for making it possible.
All right, next is our consent agenda. Item 6, and it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items A through G as attached. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we need to pull the personnel report and vote on it separately. I apologize. I need to pull back that recommendation and make a motion to remove
B.
Thank you. Yes, subject B from the consent agenda. Is there I move to do that. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyd,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez, Samantha Bynum, Amanda Harmon.
Yes.
Okay, and so now we will, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items A, C, D, E, F, and G as attached. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyd,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez, Samantha Bynum,
Yes.
Amanda Harmon,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid.
Yes. And now it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the personnel action items amended with what we have been provided tonight. Is correct, Deetra? Yes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Chris Boyd,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez, Samantha Bynum,
Yes.
Amanda Harmon,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, and now on to old business. Subject A is school psychologist contract, MMC Education Staffing LLC, and this is an action item that was brought to us by Kyle Gertis. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the service agreement with MMC Education Staffing LLC. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Would one of you like to second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Boyd,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez, Amanda Bynum,
Yes.
Amanda Harnett.
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens.
Yes.
And then subject B is preparing educators as school psychologists in Northern Illinois, PESPNI, and this is an MOU action item that Kyle Gertis brought to us. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the MOU with Northern Illinois University's Psychology Department. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
David Ramirez, Amanda Bynum,
Yes.
Amanda Harnett,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyd.
Yes.
And subject C is the letter of agreement between the DeKalb Classroom Teachers Association and the district 428 TOSA summer hours 23-24, and this is information and action. Oh, that was the, yes, it is action. It was brought to us by Deidre Salas, Billy Wermo, and Sarah Montgomery, and it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the LOA regarding TOSA summer hours for the 2023-2024 school year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Amanda Bynum,
Yes.
Amanda Harnett,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyd,
Yes.
David Ramirez.
Thank you. And then item 8, future elementary school business. Subject A is the new elementary budget and design, and this is informational brought to us by Tammy Carson.
Thank you. We have some other individuals joining us from our committee in case there's some questions that we can field, and they may have some other comments they'd like to provide. So what we brought forth to you tonight is information regarding work that has been done by the design committee for the district in regards to the new elementary school. As stated in the updates that have been sent out, as well as the board rec in front of you, the review of the project has gone on for, let's see, it was early March when the board first approved us to acquire the building and begin the design until just a couple of weeks ago. And during that time, there's been a fluctuation in regards to how much square footage, what should go into the building, and we asked for the experts behind me and others to contribute to that information. And what that has done is also caused a fluctuation in the potential cost. Now, all of these numbers are still budget, including square footage and the costs. But at this point, what we're bringing forth tonight is for discussion and informational so that it potentially can be brought forth again so we can continue this process to stay on track for the opening in August of 2025. And that is that we originally started at a 66,000 square foot building at $29.96 million. It went up to a $36 million building at 75,000 square feet, down to a 70,000 with some tweaks from the committee. And now we are at this point coming forth with a building of 70,100 square feet and approximately 33.85 million. Couple of things I want to point out with that 33.85 is that there are a few pieces that were not included in the original budget which impacted that, and those total out to 1.15 million of that. So technically, we're 2.7-ish above what we originally brought forth in March. The 1.15 includes that upon further inspection, after we did agree to acquire the building of a roof inspection, it's determined it would be to our best benefit to replace the roof at this time. If we do not, it is going to be something we're going to have to do in the near future because it is near the end of life. We're going to be putting new rooftop units on this building, and it's best we address that at that time. But that did increase by approximately $500,000 for a new roof. In addition, there is, in the budget includes an outside classroom pavilion, which was brought forth by the committee as a suggestion as an outdoor space option for the staff to be able to utilize. That is about a $200,000 expenditure, which was not in the original plan. And then also, one of the things that we do whenever we have a project this size is we meet with the city of DeKalb, and we talk about what this is going to look like and the impact of the site, whether it's detention ponds, access to the existing streets, safety for the individuals that are going to be crossing the streets and the cars coming in and out, and just traffic in general. And so they made some suggestions to our initial plans, which also increased our budget by about $450,000.
So that's the three numbers that really compile the 1.15 increase that we had not originally had in the original. And then the rest is really, again, from feedback from the committee and cabinet members in regards to other important pieces that to incorporate into it based on the specific needs of our district. So I'm going to kind of step back, and I have a couple of people I think that we're going to speak. Do you mind? I'm going to have them introduce themselves from the committee and their role.
My name is Vianney Lopez. I'm part of the committee. I'm a homeschool liaison at Little John Elementary. I do believe that the square footage for this will be beneficial to being able to locate the students that are living in that area, which will significantly bring more parent support and having more volunteers within the building, which is successful to our students.
Anybody else in the group like to step up and speak about your area specifically or anything? Great.
So, one of the additions that we asked for is a restorative behavior classroom. So, not sure if many have had the opportunity to see, but sometimes when we have students who might be, I'd say, having restorative conversations with the principal, there really isn't anywhere to go except for the principal's office. And let's face it, there's not just like 2 students down there. We probably have a good 10, right? So there's nowhere to go. So this restorative behavior classroom would allow us to have those conversations within that classroom and have our restorative circles. So that was a big ticket item that we wanted to make sure, rather than trying to figure out where we're going to put students to have these restorative conversations, we wanted to make sure that we were proactive and asked for that space prior.
We also included a parent resource room in this space because it's very important, as we said. One of our main reasons for having a school in the place where students are is also so that our parents and our families can feel welcome. And it's one thing to say you're welcome, but it's another thing to prepare a place to actually have people have a sense of belonging because they do have a place. So we also have a parent resource room that was part of a plan. And I also wanted to comment that we did have 2 parents, a grandmother who has children who are at the age, I think a kindergartner and a preschooler, that more than likely they'll be attending this school, and then also a parent of 3 students attend the meetings as well. They gave us feedback, and we are continuing to ask for other parents who live in the North Corridor to contact us if they would like to be part of the conversation as we start looking at programs for the new school. Thank you.
And I can kind of piggyback on a little bit of what Billy and Amanaquinet were talking about. I think the restorative classrooms allows us a chance to support students' social emotional needs, but also be responsive when they need some privacy to have some conversations that otherwise would happen in the hallway or principal's office. Some of the other things that we've kept in mind as we kind of built this out is inclusion. And so looking at some of our special programs, students with the most diverse needs, making sure that we are providing options to address the need for program expansion across our district, and do so in a way that's really inclusive of our students, to have them kind of built within the building instead of what used to be done a long time ago is have those classrooms set off to the side. With that comes the need for additional office space for our staff. And so we have looked at adding additional space so that those that support all of our students, but particularly those that support our students with special needs, they have their space to do the work that they need to do with small groups of students or themselves.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Parker. We also looked to add the outdoor classroom. It was not a request or a suggestion for luxury. The purpose of that classroom, more importantly, was for safety of our children. For example, at dismissal time, children are often, standing outside with adult supervision, of course, but waiting for family to pick them up. That pavilion will provide a safe haven over their head to sit and wait comfortably, as well as, of course, provide the space for staff and teachers to teach and assist in the open air. There's nothing like vitamin D. There's nothing like a fresh wind to, open the brain and get the synapses rolling. So thank you.
All right, I'll also just mention that Scott Johnson, our district architect, is also here in the audience. Should there be any specific questions for Scott? And again, these are the numbers that we are at this point. Later in the agenda, we're going to be bringing forth the construction management firm recommendation to approve LAMP Incorporated, and they will also be reviewing all of this information. Should there be any adjustments after their firm reviews it, those will be brought forth at the June 6th meeting when we're asking it to be brought back for approval. Is that all? Any questions?
So I guess going over the budget square footage update that you guys provided, I think the classroom and all of the rooms you guys talked about are phenomenal ideas. My big concern to me more comes from we have $950,000 of revisions that to me look like things that we should have known was coming. Like, how did we buy a building and not know it would need $500,000 in roof repairs before we bought it? That seems like a huge oversight on our part. And then we have $450,000 in revisions from the city. $450,000 isn't like the city said, "Oh, we'd like you to do X, Y, Z." Like, that's a complete overhaul of the plan. So I guess I'm just wondering, we haven't even started to do stuff yet. How do we know there's not going to be another $1 million next month, $1 million here? Like, that's a lot of money that we should have known was coming to begin with.
Well, I will say, starting with the city, those are discussions that we didn't have in play until we had approval to be able to move forth with the beginning of the design, because before we can have the architect really design this building in the level that it is now, talking about how the drop-off pickup, the bus, staff parking, those discussions don't happen with the city until that point. And we did add a bus drop-off circle so that the buses were not on normal road for the safety of the buses and any traffic. And then also there was a concern with the parking lot. So those were just things that unexpectedly do come up, unfortunately, in a construction project like this, and the timeline that we're on. Again, if we would have had more opportunity, but we do have the need to open up as, by the 25 school year, so that we can relieve the pressure in all of our buildings when it comes to class capacity. And then, the roof. Yes, we knew there were concerns with the roof. Again, it could be something that's delayed, and we knew that, and we talked about that at length in our committee level of, we could say, we're not going to do this. We could also put this as an alternate when we bid the project to have it as a base bid or do the base bids, have an alternate for the bid so that we can decide if we want to move forward with it, or based on the numbers that come in, we want to hold back. So we have some flexibility with that, and that includes actually, either of those options, whether it's the roof or whether it's the outdoor classroom. The city has requirements. We have to meet their requirements. So that's not something that we could budge on. But the others, sure, if there's questions or concerns that we want to make a decision at the time of the bid acceptance, then we could bid those separately.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for the committee or for Tammy? Okay, consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Next up is the construction management services contract, and this is information and action. And I'll let Tammy speak, and then if Amanda wants to add anything as being a member of that committee. All right. Thank you. What I'm bringing forth tonight for information and action is the approval of the construction. I'm sorry, I want to read this properly. To move forward with negotiating the contract with LAMP Incorporated out of Elgin, Illinois. Ian Lamp, president of LAMP Incorporated, is in the audience should you have any specific questions for Ian. He is joining us. As Amanda mentioned, we did have we had a total of 11 companies submit RFQs for the to be construction manager. We selected 4 to be interviewed in person last Wednesday evening. There was a committee of 8 of us total.
And we had them do a presentation. We had questions and answers, and then they were able to do a wrap up. It was a great group. It really was. There was some active discussions from based on all the four firms. The committee did come to a consensus to reach out to LAMP Incorporated and negotiate fees with LAMP Incorporated and look to contract with them for the construction management services for the new elementary school. We did, the architect, Scott and Ian, did meet last week to talk in some general information about the project to inform them a little more of what it looked like, but some information they didn't even have coming into the interviews. And then we were also, the three of us, able to meet Monday morning to start that, to begin the discussion on the fees. The fees that have been brought forth by LAMP Incorporated are actually under the budgeted amount that was originally brought forth by our architect in the beginning. And based on what's being proposed, I am recommending that we move forth with the contract with LAMP Incorporated to continue moving forward on the construction project. Anything you want to add, Amanda?
No,
She
Tammy
covered it. All
She
right.
did a really good. I mean, again, there was 4 great companies, but at the end, really everyone at the end was like, yeah, this is how we should move forward. And there was specific things, and just it's a great company. I think they'll do a great job, and just really what we're looking for, and what they represent. Integrity, teamwork was a lot that I took from that. And everyone really, not one question that was asked was there a hesitation. And to me, from a business perspective, and they asked for the business at the end. And that was a big deal to me, just seeing that everyone knew their role and everyone could answer any question, and just their history of working with these types of projects is a really great thing. So, good company.
Tammy, is it on for info and action to make sure we're staying with our timeline?
That is why we're coming forth with both, since we would then be able to negotiate. And obviously, all of this will go through our attorneys, and then we can be able to get that signed so that we can work more closely with them to make sure that we are identifying any questions and concerns as soon as possible so that we are designing it cohesively as a design team in a district with the architect and the construction management firm as one team.
Any other questions? Okay, then I will read it. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the construction management services contract that is presented to us tonight. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Next is new business administration. Subject A, request to bid grounds building demo and rebuild, and this is information. Tammy Carson.
Thank you. We, as all of you should know at this point, we did suffer some damage, significant damage from the storm back on March 31st to 3 of our outbuildings. Just to recap, that included our grounds building, our salt bin, and then a lean-to structure. And the salt building, was a total loss, and also the grounds building. And so we are coming forth with a request to bid out the salt build, first the demo, the salt building, and then the replacement of the grounds building. I do have Jeff Potter, our maintenance and ground supervisor, in the audience if there's anything specific for him, because this is his team that are housed in there. Temporarily, we have moved items from the grounds building because it is not safe to occupy based on the structural engineer report. So we're looking to move forward as quickly as possible on this. Later in the agenda, I'll be back up here to talk about a temporary lease space of where we're looking to move our grounds equipment to get us by. If we're able to get this out to bid right away, we will have the salt building constructed in time for winter because it'll be 2 separate structures. The salt building will be constructed before winter because that's something that's a little more challenging to find a temporary space for. So we will have that in place before winter, and then the grounds building will go under construction, and we will occupy that in approximately 16 months. Any questions for Tammy?
Will those buildings be at the current location of the ones we're
Yes.
tearing down?
Yes, we're tearing down that red Morton building. The salt bin will actually be on the east side of that building, facing 4th Street. So actually it'd be a lot easier right now. Our semis with the salt have to back down the curve by ELDC to get to our structure. Now they'll be able to do a straight back in off near 4th Street in the back of the building. And then right next to that will be the grounds building that'll be built.
So are we getting rid of the tennis courts to put in?
Well, glad you brought that up. Included in here is some more information that I should hit on in regards to right now. What we're looking at is replacing the damaged buildings, and that's more of a one-for-one replacement. That is estimated between demolition, the salt building, the grounds building, as well as leasing a location, shoring up the building to make it safe to empty, structural engineer costs, etc. That is coming in at just over $2.6 million to do that. We do have 1.5 that we have verbally been told by our insurance company will be getting back from this damage. So the net result will be the 1.15 to be able to construct a one-for-one replacement and put us in a temporary location during that time. I do have 2 other phases listed here. For those of you that have been around a while, we've been talking about the need for a maintenance and grounds building for over 10 years. Our maintenance department and our ground staff are inside Huntley Middle School in what used to be the ag classroom and also the ag shop. And on anything inside of a school building is pretty prime real estate, I'll be honest, as you can imagine. And I know Huntley and ELDC would love to have that space to be able to expand classrooms into. We would love to get out of the building and into our standalone space. And we also have a lot of equipment that sits outside and is subject to the weather conditions, and that doesn't help with the life expectancy of the equipment that has to sit outside because we don't have space. So in your board rec, there are 2 other phases listed here, which I'm not asking for approval or anything tonight to come forth on it, but I just want to have it on our radar because we are trying to determine, in a budgetary standpoint, how we could accomplish these other 2 pieces. The first is heated storage, which would get all of our equipment out from the outside and into a closed building. It would also get us out of the old ag shop so that we could vacate that area and provide a wash bay for our equipment. And then phase 3 is to provide offices so that right now Jeff is located at Huntley and myself and the 2 custodial supervisors and administrative assistant are located at Menta Academy. Menta would love our space and to be able to lease our space there, but there's nowhere for us to go. But that's at just under 1.9 million. So those are large numbers, and especially where we're at, we can't expect to come forth and say, hey, can we have 6.7 million today? I'd love to, but I don't expect that that'll get approved. So we're trying to put together a plan, put it on our radar that this is something we would like to look to accomplish in the next years. I do want to make one side note. None of these numbers include the renovations to Huntley Middle School. Should we decide to vacate that space by our department, we would need to renovate some of that space to make it usable for staff and students. So that isn't included in this because we would have to determine what the appropriate use is before I could put any numbers to that. So question about the tennis courts, that would be more a phase 2, phase 3. The current one does not impact the tennis courts at this time. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll throw a question over to the finance department if I may. Do we have this money existing within our budget to do this?
We do have the reserve to handle phase 1. Now phase 2 and 3, that will, we'll have to see what that looks like in that period of time, but phase 1, yeah. Okay. We have the reserve, yeah.
Any other questions? Consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the consolidated district plan. This is information, but should also be action because it's just a regular course of our business. But we will have Dr. Michael Trevilian kind of walk us through it and then make sure we're ready to act on it.
Is there something here, teacher? Is the I see it. President McDavid, esteemed board members, Dr. Garcia Sanchez, thank you so much for this opportunity. First off, I just have to, since this is my first time, Speaking to our board and meeting you, I just wanted to congratulate our new board members on your elections and just thank all of you all for, I'm from Arizona, sorry about the y'all, for your dedication and service to our district. In your board packets, you have received our 44-page consolidated district plan for fiscal year 44. Excuse me, 24, let's not jump that far. The CDP is the district plan that ties together all of our federal funding in excess of about $12.6 million to support children holistically. The consolidated district plan will include the following grant sources. Part of the consolidated district plan is Title I, which is our grant for improving basic programs. Title I Part A, also 1003, is our school improvement grants. Title II Part A prepares, trains, and recruits our high-quality teachers, principals, and other school leaders. Title III, language instruction educational programs. Title III, immigrant education programs. Title IV is our student support and academic enrichment grant. Individuals with Disability Education Act, or IDEA, Part B flow-through, IDEA Part B preschool, and our American Recovery Plan, LEA ESSER 3 grants as well. This 44-page document was put together with a lot of hard work from our directors, some coordinators. I get the privilege of being able to kind of just spearhead the process and work with these talented people. By the way, I'm Dr. Michael Trebillion. Billy Uermo is our Director of Teaching and Learning and Head of Title I. Sarah Montgomery, to my left here, Director of Teaching and Learning for 6 through 12. She kind of oversees Title II, Title IV, many other things. Monica Winnett Parker, of course, our DEI Director. Kyle Gertis, our Director of Student Services. AJ Crook is our Multilingual Programs Coordinator. Dr. Jessica Knoll, Assessment Coordinator. And Kim Lyle, of course, is the Principal at ELBC. All of their talents, all of their stakeholder engagement that's what informed this document. Not so much the grants manager typing it all in, cutting and pasting and making sure we get it all in, but it's their talents and all the hard work, not just in this process over the last month, but throughout the school year, because we collect Title I data from our parents, we collect information from our students, we collect information from all of our stakeholders. The CDP supports our district in this way. Opportunity, like I said before, to support children holistically. It's a single plan for multiple funding sources. It's the opportunity for district collaboration, as I just spoke about. Multiple departments are represented and schools. Opportunity for conversations with stakeholders across multiple federal funding sources. And the opportunity to coordinate local and state funds to prioritize our student needs. Within that 44-page document, the areas or parts of the plan are coordinated and aligned funding. We do a needs assessment and the impact of that. How do we engage our stakeholders? Non-public school consultation information to support our 3 private schools that our district supports. Preschool coordination, student achievement and timely graduation, college and career readiness, plan to support staff professional development, safe and healthy learning environment, individuals with disability education specific requirements, youth and care stability plan, which in the past, for those of you who have been on the board, that was the foster care aspect of the plan. This year they added in the bilingual service plan to consolidate that into the consolidated plan. And then again, those grants that are impacted by your approval of the plan and that of ISB. The CDP is not a grant. It's not an application for a grant. It's not a guarantee that we'll get federal funds. It's not a tool for reporting on existing grants. It's not an instrument for planning and reporting expenses. It's not for documenting use of local and state funds. and not a report of required federal state services. All of those things we do, but under a different guise and heading. And that is our CDP wrapped up in a few slides. Are there any questions? And we have our directors here to answer anything.
Are there any questions? Where does the CDP go, since it's not to report necessarily on how we're using, or it's not a grant application, and it's not for documenting the use? Who sees this plan besides us?
As soon as we have board approval, and that's why we're asking for information to action, I will submit to Illinois State Board of Education. All of their departments kind of engage in a conversation to approve our consolidated district plan. So it won't be just like I usually deal with one grant person who heads up Title I or title grants. They'll have also an approach, a stakeholder approach to it.
And so this plan helps us see how all of the state and federal grants that we're receiving are working together to support students holistically without necessarily duplicating any services or anything like that.
Perfectly stated.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Thanks. I wasn't sure. So, any other questions for Dr. Trevelyan? No. All right. It is, or is there consensus to go ahead and move this to action?
Yes.
All right. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the consolidated district plan presented to us tonight. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Ariel Owen.
Yes.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yes.
Samantha Lamb.
Yeah.
Amanda Hunter.
Yes.
Anthony Davis.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll get to work.
Next is the food service renewal fiscal year 23-24, and this is presented or with Aramark, and this is information presented to us by Cindy Carpenter and Armir Doka.
Yeah, we will start the presentation with our mark representative. We have Denise Jamarusco, who is our food service on site, and food service director on site, and Mr. Paul Overly. So.
Good evening. I'm Denise Giamarusco. I'm the food service director with Aramark here in DeKalb. I just wanted to pop in and give everybody a little insight into the world of food service and what's going on right now. Excuse me. So I just want to talk a little bit about regulations. You can't really have an insight to what's going on without the basics. Student engagement, stuff that we found, our state audit that we just recently had, as well as our recent meal participation and where we're at right now. So basically, we are part of the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program. We are offer versus serve. I know a lot of people think of school lunches and breakfast and think, here's your tray, here's your food. But here in DeKalb, we have a lot more options for the students. So just to break it down a little bit, for our breakfast, we offer 4 items for all the students, 1 grain, 2 fruits, and then milk. They are allowed to take a minimum of 3 items, or they can take all 4 to make a reimbursable meal for their breakfast. For lunch, we have our 5 components: your grain, your meat alternative, milk, fruits, and veggies. We offer every day at every school at least 2 fruits, 2 vegetables, 1 hot, 1 cold, your grain and meat alternative, which usually takes place in your main entree, and then our milk, which is our white milk and chocolate milk. For lunch, to make it a reimbursable meal, they have to take at least 3 of those components, but they can take all 5. So they can get a pretty hefty lunch. And I think that's where the disconnect is with the kids, and what we're trying to work on is that they aren't aware of all of that they can take and what they can eat, so they don't go hungry, which is kind of what we're working on. Leading into that, we did some surveys, myself and Mike Chamness, who is the food service manager with the district. We recently went out to Clinton Rosette Middle School, spent lunch there. It was so much fun, loud and crazy, but so much fun. And we handed out a survey to the kids. It was all anonymous. They didn't have to tell us anything. They just filled it out and turned it in, basically asking them, what do you like about lunch? What's your favorite lunch? What do you want to see more of? What fruits do you like? What veggies do you like? We went through all those surveys. We were able to implement immediate things right away. For example, our flavor station. Because of our state regulations, we can't add salt and butter to the food. But with this flavor station, it allows the kids to add their own seasonings. For example, red pepper flakes, Parmesan cheese, and Italian seasoning. And so far that has been huge for the kids. They wanted to see more grab and go options. So instead of just a deli sandwich, we added deli wraps. We added fun packs, which are yogurt, cheese stick, and a cereal bowl or muffins. And those have gone over really well. We also found that some things we want to implement going forward is taking those items that they said they wanted. For example, a lot of the kids wanted more breakfast for lunch. So we do occasionally, I would say a couple times a month, the French toast sticks. But we want to kind of venture out and see what other breakfast items they had and continue to do these surveys at Huntley Middle School and as well as the elementary schools to see what the kids like and then react to what they do and what they don't like. Are we going to menu it again, or we're just going to delete it because it wasn't a big hit? We also talked to a mini board at the high school. We sat down with a representative and had a really great conversation. And I think the disconnect there was a lot of the students at the high school don't really know what is offered to them. They know that there's pizza, they know there's nachos, they know there's chicken patty sandwiches, but they didn't really know that every day we have a different, what we like to call restaurant rotation option. So we're working on more signage, making it more visible, getting the servers to communicate more with the kids so they know what their options are. They know that most of them just run in and grab what they want and leave. So that is big. Another thing for the high school was fruit. So into the apples, we've added fresh cuties, pears, and bananas. So those are some things we're working on, but we obviously, like I said, had a great conversation and we would love to continue that going forward. Just so, I mean, these students are our customers. So that's what we have to make sure that they're satisfied with their school lunch. At the elementary level, Aramark just recently rolled out what we like to call the ACE show. ACE is our cute little adorable fox mascot for the elementary schools. And we now have videos that are about 5 to 7 minutes long. Teachers can show in their classroom. And it highlights health and well-being, really get them in the habits of choosing healthy options. It comes with lesson plans, so they can interact with the videos, they can ask questions, and they also get a certificate of achievement. So it makes it fun for the kids if they accomplished it. We really want to roll that out. I know at Brooks Elementary School, they did show a couple of the videos going over really well. Myself and Mike would really like to next year really make this a big thing at the elementary schools, give out samples that go along with the videos. For example, at Brooks, I was there for lunch. We have jicama. I don't know any kindergarten through 5th grader that knows what jicama is. So we had them all laid out. So many kids tried it. Some were fans, some weren't. But I mean, it just opened their minds to new options. So we would love to continue that with them. And then wrapping all this up, we did have our Board of Education audit this year. We get it done every 5 years. Basically, state auditor comes out, they deep dive into our program, they look at our menus, they make sure we're compliant with everything that needs to be offered, all the nutritional information. They make sure that the Aramark employees who are taking off the meals are making sure that each kid is taking a full reimbursable meal so that we are compliant with that. And the flow of our service to make sure we are being as proactive and as efficient as we can. And I'm happy to say that myself, and I'm speaking for Mike, that we are extremely proud of the Aramark and district staff. They did an amazing job. We had a couple of little, I would say, not even mark-offs, but just coaching opportunities. So we're super proud of that and continue that training with our team, both district and Aramark, to continue that. So in the next 5 years, we have the same results. And then just as a closing, just so everyone knows where we are right now. Right now, lunches from beginning of August to now, we've served 581,335 lunches and 429,662 breakfasts. And for a total of last year, we were at a little over 1 million meals served. And right now we are over 56,000 more than we were last year. So with these surveys, with the engagement from all the students and the staff, we hope to continue that next year and implement some great new things with the students that will really elevate our program and make lunch extremely enjoyable for everybody. Does anyone have any questions?
I would like to say I appreciate the responsiveness that you are showing. I think when we do hear from students, a lot of times it is about school lunches.
Yeah. They definitely get a bad rep.
Yes, and you know, I think we understand that you have to follow fairly strict guidelines on what can and cannot be served, and so finding ways to engage students to make it more to their liking, I think is really exciting. I'm excited to hear that that's rolling down to the elementaries next year as well. Are there any plans or are there ways to locally source food, or do you do that already?
So we work with the USDA with our food and stuff. There is a fruit and veggie program, right?
Yeah, I can jump in and answer that question. My name is Paul, and thank you very much for having us tonight. We actually do work with our main distributor, Cisco, and make sure that we're looking at local sourcing as well. So over the course of this year, we can certainly provide some information back to our district team, share with them where the products are coming from. We have resources to be able to do that, but they certainly do have a homegrown program, if you will. And we can work to identify what we're able to put on the plate, obviously, from the standpoint of fruits and vegetables and different proteins and things of that nature. We can get that back to you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So how do you guys, I guess, I know you guys have the government rubrics that you have to follow, but I know like when I visited Founders and went there for lunch for the day, the options were you could get 2 breadsticks or a sun butter sandwich and then peas in a fruit cup. And I obviously, when I went to school, like we did not have those regulations. I was having pizza, I was having beans. So I guess like what is?
So those main entrees every day, like if the elementary level, they get a choice of a hot entree or the cold entree, or there's always an entree of sun butter and jelly they can get any day. Fruits and veggies, they can have whatever. We do have to rotate the fruits and veggies just to be compliant with the state regulations.
My big thing, I guess, how is 2 pieces of bread like an entree?
It's actually it's a bread grain basically. So there are calorie counts, and we could probably bore you with a whole lot of details. We can bring a lot back, some more information back to you. But not only is there a requirement for the 5 different groups to be offered, but there's calorie caps, if you will. We can't offer over a certain number of calories. So what we do is we follow very closely, to your point, the National School Lunch Guidelines. It requires a bread grain, it requires a certain amount of fruit and vegetables every day. It actually requires a certain amount of different types of fruits and vegetables that you have to serve in a week. So what we do is we prepare all 5 components so they can have all of those things. And as was mentioned earlier by Denise, they only have to take 3. So what we try to encourage them to do is take all 5, and they can certainly have as many fruits and vegetables as they would like, but a serving is about a half cup for an elementary student. So I completely understand your point. When we looked at that audit that we just went through, they actually look and see if we're over serving, because that's also a part of the program too. So if we serve too many of those items, then we can get into a little bit of a sticky situation. And you as a district obviously too, because we're over serving that child on a calorie count. So it's not just portions, but it also is calorie counts for those individual meals. So
I feel like the more knowledge we get to the kids about what they take, like I would love to start being a part of back to school night, having the cafeteria open for especially incoming 6th graders, incoming freshmen, so they know their options. Because when they're running in and out of that cafeteria, they're just wanting to talk to their friends, grab their lunch, and go.
I think it's too also, it's educating parents as well. Because when you think about the 3 items, that looks very small, but when you put all 5 items on a plate, then you really have a full meal. And a balanced meal, one that's nutritionally compliant as well as meets the requirements for students. So.
Any other questions? No. Is there consensus to bring the contract renewal back for action?
Do we need to have?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
please review it with us, the financial piece.
Yeah, no, thank you for
Chris.
Aramark coming in and presenting that, but this agenda item is regarding the contract for next year. We have used Aramark since 2017, and you've seen that they've done a good job actually. Last year, as Denise mentioned, there was about 1 million breakfast and lunch served. In 2018, I was looking at the numbers, and we were at about 800,000. So we have a lot of increase, but this could be due also to the CEP program that we unveiled, and also the activities that Denise and Aramark keeps bringing to motivate students to come in. So, but going back into the, we're looking to extend the contract for 1 additional year. This is under an emergency extension. We requested this from ISB because of the climate of instability. We have high inflation, food prices are very high, so we don't want to be locked into a multiple year contract. So we requested 1 extra year from ISB, and we believe the next year we'll have to go into a multi-year contract. So right now we were granted, so we looked into it, and after we analyzed the revenues and cost, we are recommending an 8.3 increase in the meal rate. This is based on an 8.3 consumer price index for food, and this is under a CPIU measure, which is food away from home, as it's called, and these are food price inflations. Additionally, we have to take into account the minimum wage increase from $13 to $14 per hour, which will be embedded part of the lunch meal rate. Lunch meal rate. So how are we going to pay for this? So we historically base this, we get reimbursement because we're part of a national school lunch program, which Denise was kind of mentioning has all these regulations and all these calories that we have to count. With the CEP increase and more participation, we get reimbursements higher. So that's why Aramark will always try to get more participation through those programs that she just mentioned. Additionally, from reimbursements, we also get a supply chain disruption payment, which is based from supply chain disruptions from COVID. So ISB has allocated for us $202,000. We expect this to be paid for us in the next school year. We have received in the past about 117, so we believe that we will get this as well. So right now we are at an account surplus, so we think that we can absorb this cost, and we're coming for you. We'll come on June 6th for an approval for this contract. So.
I don't know how it works together or how they're connected, but we're still participating in the community eligibility program for our reimbursement.
Correct. This is still part of National School Lunch Program, but we're under a providing free meals to all students, regardless of their status. So previously we had parents that maybe had income instability, so they were always moving between paid and free lunch. So this will kind of, we've seen more participation, and we've seen parents actually just be happier because they don't have to deal with the status. Even though we still require for them to go through a status guideline, but that's mostly for student fee registration, not for the food. But still, we've seen a lot more participation, as I said, from 800,000 to 1 million meals served. This is, I believe, contributes mostly from that program that we entered.
So the contract extension doesn't impact our eligibility to be a part of that?
No, not at all. This is actually we would like, we push and we work with Aramark so that we can get more participation, because that's really what reimbursement comes from. The more participation, the more reimbursement. We've also seen it's also dependent on low income statuses from this direct certification that we call it. And at this time, we have kind of seen an increase of that. So our reimbursement have grown a little bit, depending on those two factors.
And then if this comes back for action and we approve it, and then it's for 1 more year, after that, when you have to do a multi-year, that goes out to bid, and you get multiple bids at that point.
Correct,
for multiple.
Correct. We have to go through the whole guidelines that are provided by ISB. So there's a full regulations on that.
So is this proposal actually costing the district any money, or is it just, hey, we're getting more from the national and state government next year?
So the way we were gonna that we're gonna absorb this increase was through reimbursements and that supply chain cost. So this is and we do have a surplus account, so we believe that it should be, we're comfortable with this contract. And there's not much room in negotiation for this one because 8.3 is really the price inflation of food.
Any other questions? Okay, now is there consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subject D is the PLC Work Institute Workshop Out-of-State Travel, and this is information. Billy Wermo.
Good evening again, everyone. So I'm coming to all of you to request the opportunity for our building administrators to be able to attend a PLC Institute, which is in Madison, Wisconsin. For those of you who are not aware, we've been doing PLCs. This next year will be our third year in implementing it. We went heavily building led, and a lot of our principals need a little bit more PD to be able to guide their staff. So one of the things that we did on Friday was we sent out a PLC survey, and I just wanted to make sure that I was asking for the right thing. The two common denominators were time and guidance. So this will give them what they need to provide their staff guidance on how to effectively run PLCs.
Any questions?
And this is covered with title funds, right?
Yes, so that's what I was just gonna say. Yep, covered with Title II funds.
My only question is, looking at the meals, it looks like for lunches. Where are they getting lunches for $6.50 a person?
That's what we have allocated. If you'd like to raise that, you know, that's a whole different conversation with all of you. Good question.
I'm sorry. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Subject E is staffing requests, extended school year 1.0 instructional assistant, information and action. Kyle Gertis.
Good evening. We are gearing up for our extended school year summer program, which is our summer programming offering for students with special needs that qualify. There's been Jennifer Royer, Kim Lyle, Donna Larson have been working on staffing for several months now. Recently we had a change in a student's IEP that required us to increase the amount of assistant support that we hadn't initially planned on when we did our initial staffing request. So in order to stay in compliance with the support that the IEP team feels the student needs, we are going to have to add one additional instructional assistant for ESY. The instructional assistants are paid at $14.50 per hour rate. 5 hours a day, multiplied across the length of ESY, that is about $1,500 or $1,500. We do have this as info action, and the position is posted currently as anticipated because we know that we are going to need this position. So we are asking that the board approve it tonight so we can kind of be ready for June.
Any questions for Kyle? No. Okay. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the hire of one instructional assistant FTE for the extended school year program. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mario Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Samantha Bynum?
Yes.
Amanda Hunter?
Yes.
Samantha McDavid?
Yes.
Steve Byers?
Yes.
Thank you. Subject F is lease approval, temporary space for grounds equipment, and this is also on for information and action. Tammy Carson.
Thank you. I'll remind you, Jeff Potter from our Maintenance and Grounds Department is still in the audience. Should you have any questions for him? But as I mentioned, the grounds building will not be available to us for over a year, and we cannot keep our maintenance and grounds equipment together for too much longer. We're pretty packed, and a lot of our equipment is sitting outside right now. So we did look at options for leasing space in our DeKalb School District area and did prefer to stay closer to the Huntley Middle School since that is where the team is based and where their main office is based. Limited options, I'll be honest. We needed to have at least a 12-foot door and be able to drive in on a lot of our equipment. But we were able to locate some space over on 7th Street, just straight east of here. It's the old Spalding building for those of you that have been around DeKalb for a while. It's broken into a lot of spaces, but after some negotiating, we were able to render, let's see, we have a total of just over 5,000 square foot available to us, which we feel will get us by for the time that we have lost the 7,000 square foot building. In the requisition in front of you, it actually talks that the rate is $15.12 per square foot. Today, we were able to negotiate that down with the landlord, and he has committed to a $12 square foot. So it's actually going to save us almost $35,000 over the life of the 18-month lease, less than we intended on. So we're very excited for that and appreciate his flexibility in that with that lease. So today I'm bringing forth for action and approval to be able to contract for this property and work with our attorney to contract for it so that we are able to move in June 1st and be able to begin the demolition once the bid is complete on that the grounds building. Questions for Tammy?
No.
Okay. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve administration to negotiate and execute the lease of the space at 1288 South 7th Street in DeKalb. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
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 Thank you. Thank you. Subject G is Diligent Board Docs Professional Development Conference Out of State Travel. Deidre Salas.
Good evening. So I'm coming to you regarding an opportunity for training. Diligent is the parent company that owns Board Docs, the system that we use for housing our agenda, minutes, and things for the board meeting. Personally, requesting this is myself and Jackie Pringle. Jackie is your board clerk, but I'm also asking to go because I support her. Tonight was a good example of me attempting to support her. I have had Board Docs training before, but it was around 2008, and the software has had a lot of enhancements since then. Since Jackie came into this role, she has not received training. So this will be a really good opportunity for us to learn how to use it to its full capability. We also have the ability to take our board policies and place it into the software and to do some other creative things, adding videos from board meetings, being able to add other documents, and to use it as a library and a resource for other resources. But we don't know how to do that. So we're asking for approval for the out-of-state travel. It is the week of September 13th through the 15th in Orlando, Florida. So we are coming for out-of-state travel approval. Tonight is for information, and I'll come back to you at the next meeting if you grant us consensus on this.
Are there questions for Deidre? Consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Subject H is the ISB Press Plus issue release 111 first reading, and this is information. Dr. Garcia Sanchez.
Fun stuff. So as usual, when we have a summary of about a 45-page document, Press Plus, that has been shared with the board members. For new board members, this pretty much means you get 2 reads. This is the first scan at the first read, and then you'll be able to read it next time we get back together again. I will ask if you have any questions or if there are any clarifications that need to happen. If we need a second read, then we'll go ahead and allow for a second read. Otherwise, we can just accept them, and then they become part of our policy and they become adapted and updated within our Press Plus. So there is a summary that pretty much the revision descriptions are inclusive of not only qualifications and term duties of board officers, but as well as district public records, FOIAs, around the checklist for the superintendent employment, purchases and contracts, all those types of things. It's policies revolving each and every around those pieces. So there is, I want to count them, I want to say there's 15, no, 25 additions and adaptions to this. So this is your first read. You'll have access to it on board docs. And then we'll check back with you next time to see if you have questions or if we need to move forward.
Press Plus is a service we subscribe to. They follow all of the changes in school code, and then they compile it all and give it to us so that we can adopt it and make sure that our policies are compliant. Some of them you'll notice when you're reading them are like very minor changes, like even sometimes just in the notations at the bottom of the school code. Other are more substantial, like actual language changes. So you just take your time, read them, and then we'll have an opportunity to discuss them at our second reading.
So some of these you'll see in our parent-student handbook, some of them you'll see as part of our staff handbook eventually, or any other policies, and some are just the way that we go about doing business as a board.
Any questions about it?
It's a lot of reading.
Yeah. It is. Consensus to bring this back for a second reading.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the superintendent update. Do you want to start?
Always the best. No kidding. First, I'm going to say this again. I'm very excited about all of the hard work that everybody's done and the collaboration that staff has pulled together on many things. Obviously, I'm excited about the Human X survey, but I'm really excited to see how everybody has come together from all sides to do what's in the best interest of students and our staff. So I really appreciate that as a superintendent to see that work has done amazingly well, and that we'll continue to do that. So thank you for that. Whether you're an employee, a parent, a vendor, newspaper, wherever you fall, thank you so much for all the work that you do with us together. I want to say that this week is our appreciation of our police officers. We have an SRO in the back, so I want to make sure I shout them out and thank you for all you do to keep us safe and on the straight and narrow. So thank you so much for that to all of you and your colleagues that are out there. I also want to remind our board members that we have the district administrative committees. The listing is out. I've asked if you all can just kind of take a purview if I had a chance to do that. If you can pick one or two minimally to be on, I would really appreciate that. For those of you out there in the world, if you're interested in taking on a committee, being part of a committee, we more than welcome you. Amanda Cornett Parker is a person that is our tag person on this, so feel free to reach out. I know I've had a couple of parents that were interested. If I haven't gotten back to you yet, here's your chance, amandacornett.parker@d428.org, so that we can get as many people on. I'd love to hear voices from all over spaces. We need to make sure, another thing is Chance is out doing their thing, and this will be their second year, completing their second year. So that means their term is over, and we need to again begin to find our student board member. So if we have students out there or parents that are thinking their student should be on the board, here's a chance to be able to take Chance's spot. To be a part of this great board. So an opportunity for you to learn, to see how boards work, what the politics is, and get to ask the questions that you hear all these wonderful people be able to ask. So looking forward to having some of our students, maybe sophomores, in their sophomore year or juniors that are interested in doing it, because it is a 2-year term. And
I would add, if you want more info, thank you so much.
Sure.
You can contact me or Miss Larson as well. So
I love that. It just takes it over. I love that. And then
Dr. Larson, I should say. Gotta get used to that.
Thank you. I want to end on something that I think is imperative for me to say. Last week was a very rough week for many reasons. We lost 2 young people in our community, and for anybody that knows them, that is family to them. It's hard for them, but it's also hard for us to know that we've lost young people to violence or whatever happens. Um, in between that, because people are suffering, because there's no way, they don't know how to react, sometimes we enact behaviors that we shouldn't. I get that we're grieving and people grieve in different kinds of ways, but I want to remind everyone that your action or lack of action says a lot about who you are, and please keep in mind that your words can be either very helpful or they can be hurtful. And we want you to be the strongest that you can be. And I want to thank Kyle and Student Services and the whole high school student service component and cabinet and everyone who stood to help the children and the staff members either at the high school or district-wide, because those things touched all of our schools, right? All of those actions touched all of our schools, our SROs, everyone. I mean, I'm sure I didn't name you. Please know that I am apologizing. I'm thinking a lot of things right now, and it's still very emotional, as you can tell. My ears are burning. They're really red because this is a very difficult subject, and it's very hard to talk about these things. But we need to talk about them so that we can be able to share our feelings, so we can move on, so that we can grieve appropriately, so that we can say the things that are on our mind, so that we can tell our kids what they shouldn't be doing, who they're with. Ask them. Have those conversations with our children about what happened, what didn't happen, what shouldn't be happening. Tell them you love them. Tell them that you're watching out, that you're asking a million questions because you do love them. Our adults, our kids feel like they belong to us when we do push them, when we ask them questions, when we ask them what they're thinking. If we leave them alone, they think that we don't care, and that's not true. We care so much. We just don't know how to move that forward. I just want everyone to know that it touches us in different kinds of ways, and we will continue to do our best to make it safe, to make it real, to make it whatever it takes to make this district be a safe and secure district. But we need everyone, every single body to help us to do that. This is not just the schools alone. It's not just the parents alone. It's not just the city alone. It's every single body. We need you all to help us raise our kids, okay? So with that, I know it's a little on the low note. I tend to do rah-rah a lot, but it was important that I share this with you all. Thank you so much for everything that you do for all of us. And thanks again to, for coming together to keep our district strong and making sure our students and staff felt supported. So thank you.
I kind of hate to bring it back to something else after that, because I appreciate those sentiments very much. But we also wanted to just have a conversation as a board and as a team about the superintendent evaluation tool as well. Superintendent evaluation is coming up, like it'll be here next week, it feels like. Last year we used a tool as Dr. Garcia Sanchez and the district administration were kind of working through what administrator evaluations looked like in our district. This year, they have a tool in place, and we would like to, I say we, it's a conversation that Dr. Garcia Sanchez and I have had. We would like to use that tool for the superintendent evaluation so that it aligns with the other ones that are being used in our district. It still follows all of those professional standards that were in that tool last year. It's laid out a little bit differently, I think a little easier to read, in my opinion. She's going to share, she can share that out, but just want to get consensus so that she can start kind of filling that out on her end so that it's ready when it's time to actually do the evaluation. I know
how can we have consensus on using a tool that we have no idea what it is?
Yes. I thought I shared that on the weekly update, not this last one, but the one before. But I'd be happy to resend it, or we can upload it now.
I would appreciate that, because
Yes.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's something we only do once a year, so it's a little different, I guess. But
Could I begin to use it and then we can get consensus for the next time?
yes, we can bring it like kind of everyone have a chance to look at it, make sure that we're good with it at our next meeting. In the meantime, otherwise you can move your things over to the old one if it's not feeling
We do have a
comfortable.
deadline for the evaluation, right? We just want to
Yes.
remind everybody of that.
Yes.
I did not have it in the weekly board update.
It was from the 10th, I think, last week's.
what I looked
There's a link. You click on her link, it's highlighted blue.
Okay, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, up in Minerva's section at the top. Is it right? Is that what I'm looking at? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I have a question in the meantime. I know, and if this is for later, just correct me, let me know. I know last time there was a concern about like not the Likert scale, but like the scoring of it.
Mhm.
Is that,
That's
will that be different? Okay, great, all right.
That's different.
Awesome.
So this is the form that we'll be using is actually used for it's aligned to the National Superintendent's certification process. So it's one that's used in that case, and it's been also aligned to the new principal evaluation that will be coming out from ISB for principals actually, and we'll be taking a look at that. Actually, I'm getting training on it tomorrow. So those actually all line up together so that things are then scaffolded and we're all doing the same work. That way, there's supervision on top of supervision, and it means it's more meaningful.
Okay, awesome.
So I guess
the numbers are better aligned.
Great. Thank you.
we will make sure that it's clearly shared in a clear way. And then we will come back. But we do have to complete the evaluation in June. All right. I think that's it.
That's it
Yes?
for me, yeah.
Okay. With that, our meeting will be adjourned if there is a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.